won't be appropriate for him to start naming names. We can do that. You can't because of your standing as an ex-Super Eagles captain and coach.
Is there anybody in that team now that you would not invite, without mentioning names? Is there anybody there now that you would not invite if you were the manager?
This is Sports Zone on Lagos Talks 91.3.
Thank God, man. Thank God. Another weekend to enjoy the very best of football in the Premier League. Congratulations, Chelsea people. Yes, we're good. We're coming. Demolished Noah FC last night. We're coming.
Who?
We're coming.
How about the Ark?
We're coming. Mm-hmm. God is on our side. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Chelsea is a decent side, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people should start thinking also about the possibility of keeping Ruud van Nistelrooy on as a manager at the club of Manchester United. But that's a different conversation altogether. Let's talk to somebody who's been there, done that. We announced that he would be here with us today on the program. A man who needs no introduction. I mean, anybody, anywhere around the world, and you mentioned the name of Sunday Oliseh, you know exactly what the man is all about. He's joining us live via telephone. Was supposed to be here with us this morning, but rather unfortunately, had to skip town for a very important reason. So he's going to talk to us via telephone. Good morning, Mr. Sunday Oliseh. How are you today?
Good morning, Mr. Charles Amnazodo. All
right, Segun Agbede is also in the building as well.
Sonny, my man.
Femi Faraway.
Good morning.
Sonny, my man, my guy. I was really looking forward to see you today, but it's all good. So, thanks for coming on the show anyway. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I was hoping to ask you guys some face-to-face questions too, but I beg, things are how it is. We'll do our best.
We'll do our best. No wala, man. No wala.
All right, Sonny, let's get into it. Time is never on our side, really, when we talk to very important personalities like you. The Super Eagles have a game, AFCON qualifier against Benin Republic and Rwanda, end of this month. And the team list just recently released by Coach Augustin Eguavon. I'm sure you've seen the lists. What's your take on qualifying for the AFCON and how tricky it is for the Super Eagles ahead of the World Cup qualifier as well?
Well, I think that gradually Eguavon is putting some level of consistency in the team so far now, because it's been back-to-back results. I think that should be respected also.
And quite a number of people, especially Segun, always clamors for some sort of, what's that thing they call it when you have a certain federal character, a certain percentage of home-based players in the squad. Is that something that you would accede to?
A quota.
The quota system for the Super Eagles.
I'm sorry, but I have to laugh. Football is not economics or politics. Football is a question of... I really feel if you want to win, if you go into the federal character, you will never win anything.
No, wait, sorry. Let me just correct. Sorry, let me correct what Charles said. Federal character, no. A quota for MPFL players, not federal character.
Oh no! Sorry. I thought you were talking about
no.
players from the second
No. Definitely, no. That's crazy. No, I'm talking about having even if it's because in a squad of 23, 18 will play, 18 will win, and then you have like 5 spots who will probably never get to kick a ball. Do you understand? I'm saying for every Super Eagles squad, let's have 3 or 4 MPFL players. That's what I'm saying. That's my suggestion.
Well, that suggestion is good. In what way is it? In fact, I find it very, very good. Why? Because in the sense that you kind of like breathe in air into the local league. You bring in an air of optimism into the league and make the players realize that you're not totally forgotten.
Yeah.
You're in the plant. And in fact, otherwise, why would you want to have a local league? The essence of having a local league is to produce players to get to the top in the world and to have a competition where the country itself gets entertained and participate. So that I think it's it. But if you're going to have to start picking players, because we all know that the underground sometimes they pick players because based on the fact that We have to have certain people from this part of the country in the team, no matter what happens. That's the one I was trying to refer to.
No, hell
if
no,
we do that one, if we do that one for my brother, we have no chance.
Mm-hmm.
Not a chance.
All right, let me. The issue surrounding a certain player from Bayer Leverkusen, Victor Boniface, who really hasn't hit the ground running with the national team, consistently gets invited. I'm of the opinion, really, that if you're not doing it for the national team, then give the space to somebody else who's most likely able to do it. But it just seems that people are more in tune with giving him time and time again opportunities to prove himself. I don't know what you think. I mean, your time at the Super Eagles, there was really no space for anybody to not hit the ground running. But now it just seems like it's permissible, with the Super Eagles.
Yeah, and this kind of attitude as surrounding the Super Eagles that you just clearly stated out now is one of the reasons why we're not really performing. You don't pick players by sentiment. You pick players by performance. Okay, if a player is an established player of the Super Eagles and he goes through a phase whereby 2-3 games, he's not really at himself, I can understand because he's already done, you leave him with that. But in this instance of Boniface, I will address it head on. I watch Boniface play all the time, and I find him an exceptional player. I find him a very, very good player. But he's been struggling with the Super Eagles. But you cannot afford to keep Boniface out of the Super Eagles. So I think it has to be a gradual process. Now, if he starts the game and he's not doing well, he starts the second game, he's not doing well. Look, he doesn't have a birthright to the Super Eagles starting lineup. You have to sit him on the bench and gradually introduce him in, maybe towards the end of the games. Normally Nigeria dominates games and should be winning at the 60th minute. Then you bring in such a player. But then again, he also needs to be able to live with the pressure. If you're not performing with the Super Eagles, you must also understand in your mind that at one point you might no longer get invited. We've had players in the Super Eagles who were during my time who did well in their clubs, came to the Super Eagles, and we used to say, this will not be Super Eagles player. So they will not get played. And he likes it or not, he has to live with it. But I think if you want to play in the Super Eagles, we have to use what I keep repeating, Charles and Sheg, is that we have to use the performance principle. If you are performing, you are playing. If you are not performing, you don't play.
Okay, Sonny, how about if we flip it? How about a player that, I'll mention names like Iheanacho, and then Masadi were picked. Iheanacho has literally been a fixture in Super Eagles, but career-wise, I think when he scored for his club, Real Sociedad or something, recently, that was his first club goal in almost a year. Do you understand? Do players like that deserve... Umar Sadiq, for instance, too, be called up to Super Eagles. He's not even performing in his club, Oh, no, I think Iheanacho is Sevilla. Yes?
Sevilla, yeah.
So what's your take on that? A player that's done well in the past for the Super Eagles, but he's kind of gone missing in his club, What's your thinking on that? That's the almost opposite of what Victor Boniface is going through.
Sure. Nobody has a birthright to the Super Eagles. And let's face it, even those of us who performed for 10 years non-stop at the highest level for Nigeria, at one point we also had to say goodbye. At one I think life is a stage. At one point you will be on stage. At one point also another act has to come in and you leave the stage.
Yeah, true that.
And the way I see it is that if he's not performing at his club, why would you be inviting to the national team if he's not playing also at the national team? This is taking up one place that you could give to somebody else, maybe even to a home-based player, to give him a chance. I have nothing against the Iheanacho. I like the lad, and I see them all call him senior man and all that. He's good. He's great. He's like a fan. But then you also have to look at the reality of the fact is that this is not a club and it's not a friendly club. It's not a social club. It's a national team, for Christ's sake. So that means if you don't perform, you don't play. One thing now, Sheg and Charlie, one thing you have to know is that you see players in the national team. We have groups. You can't stop people having groups. And you have people also. Each time you invite someone who they feel does not worth being there, they will be complaining in the back. And that complaining brings divisions. When the referee blows the whistle, you stop. Because, you're not supposed to do that anyway. They just invite them. Why don't you invite them, And then you wouldn't succeed. You always have problems.
Sunday, I'm glad you mentioned the word groups, because
factions.
We're going to go there, but it seems like it's come a little early because of the word that you used. But was there a mafia in the Super Eagles during your time? We've heard so much about it, we read so much, but no Super Eagles player up to date has really confirmed or even denied. So, Oliseh, Sunday, when I get mafia for Nigeria team that time.
Mafia. We don't get mafia. If you say mafia, you mean because mafia itself is like a government beside the government. It's a second government. So it's ruling. People are paying tax to the government, national government that we all voted for. People are still paying tax to this, this second government that's on the side. No, that is we didn't have in the Super Eagles. But there is something that we have, and that will always exist in the Super Eagles, no whether you like it or not, because it exists in every club in the world. You always have a group of players, especially mostly players who play regularly and who are personalities in the team. These players, always discuss among themselves how things should go, and these players, and normally they are supposed to be group of leaders. Now, I will share with you, when I was captain of the Super Eagles for over 3 years, what I used to do was this. If an issue came up, I cannot just bring it to everybody. Sometimes the sensitive issues, everybody that maybe even some new players that just came in, some young ones and everything. So there were 5-6 players who are players who have been there for a long time, who had experience and who had personality. You will call them and you tell them, look, Bobs, they are supposed to pay us so and so and so. Now they are proposing this. They say this is what they have. What do you guys think? And then you will share with them. And it is you now that will now carry it as a captain back to the authorities and look, Oga, we no agree or we accept. That is, if you want to call that a mafia, then you have a mafia in everything. We had that in Juventus. We had it at Ajax. We had it at Borussia Dortmund. You have a group of people. And in most times, I was part of those leaders, even in these clubs, except for Juventus, whereby you will be called upon, and then they will say, what do you think? Sometimes even the coach calls these 5 people and say, look, these people I want to talk to. That's the funniest part. It's not as if the players create the mafia. It's usually the coaches who create these senior players and say, look, these are guys I want to talk to, and ask them these things. So if you call that mafia, then you have it everywhere. So
Sonny, do you care to tell us who your kitchen cabinet was? Who were your go-to guys in Super Eagles?
You want me to give you names? So you say these were the mafias during that time.
Sonny, you've explained, because it makes sense. You are quite right. In fact, some teams suffer. Some teams. Let me quote my darling team, Manchester United. That's the team that is suffering because they don't have leaders in the dressing room. So I get what you're saying. You're right. Chelsea under Mourinho, John Terry has said it several times that they had it like their governing council, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, and one or two other players like that. That all decisions, and once Mourinho talks, they were the ones that will filter the information down to the younger ones, and they are the ones that made the players act on Mourinho. They were Mourinho's voice in the dressing room. Do you understand? So I don't think it's a bad thing, to be honest.
That's what I'm talking about. God bless you. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, Sunday, let's look at the 1994 FIFA World Cup. I mean, the Super Eagles came into that tournament with a lot of expectations. Many of us even went as far as thinking that this team could actually win the FIFA World Cup. And when you guys lost to Italy, I mean, I've never seen that game ever again. And
I've not watched it again either.
That's a major reason why I hate the Italian national team till tomorrow, because they did us dirty. But there's also another rumor around the 94 FIFA World Cup Was there a conspiracy against the late Rashidi Yaki in 1994?
If there was one, I didn't know about it, and that's because I've learned one thing in life: never say never. And from my own personal experience of backstabbing, I can tell you, you never know. So, but if there was one, I didn't know about it. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that whether anybody likes it or not, Rashidi Yaki was the star of that team. And he was like the guy who made it. He made it all, come together for us. I know some might not like this because they might not be fans of him, but in reality, somehow I don't care because the truth has to be said there. The day that man stopped playing for Super Eagles, our game changed till today. May he so rest his peace.
Amen.
Because when we had Yaki in front, and that's why I feel that we really have to do everything possible to try to get this kind of players. This man was always, the opponent was always worried when Yaki was there. Something was to happen, And no, I don't remember that.
Can you equate the expertise of Victor Anichebe to that of Rashidi Yaki?
That's a good question.
No, they are two different players, and I think it is unfair to compare both of them. I think it is unfair. Now, if you ask me why, Yaki helped Nigeria qualify for almost 2-3 World Cups. Osimhen is just coming up. He has not played one yet. And to start comparing these two players, it's unfair to Rashidi Yaki. You're not even helping Osimhen also because it's like you're making him actually think that he has achieved and he's not gotten there yet. But he has the qualities to get there.
The potential.
That's how I see it. He has the potential. No, sorry, thank you. He has the potential to get there. So that is possible. But we also have to look at the instance that Osimhen also has to be used in a way that goes with the qualities he has. We use Rashidi in the quality that we had. One thing we did, okay, I can share it with you. One thing we did that we did not entertain playing Rashidi much in small places. The man is tall. So the man is very tall. So it's not somebody that you play in a small area, this little tika. I think he will struggle. But Rashidi needs to go in strides. He needs space. He needs movement. And it was great for me because I was blessed with the talent to drop pinpoint passes. So when the man just took off like that, you just threw it pinpoint into the space in front of him. And the rest is for the nets to hold, and that is what everybody says. And those are the things I feel we are not doing a service to any player in national team now to compare them to that generation because that generation was winning everything. And they were so dominant. It is just unnecessary pressure on these ones. These ones still have a lot to do.
So, what's your position on playing a footballer to the style of the team, or playing the style of the footballer, the team to the style of the footballer? Which way do you swing?
As a coach, the style you're going to play has to be based on the quality of the players you have. If you don't have players that can pass the ball, or have the quality to pass the ball, keep the ball, brace in movement, run into small areas, come into and out of pockets, be able to have good body shape, forget tiki-taka. So you have to know.
Sorry, I just want to go back to the question of Victor Boniface. Having watched him for club and for country, what do you think will be the best way to get the best out of him?
You cannot play Victor Boniface is not a player that will excel with this long balls left and right. He's a player that needs combinations. He's a player that needs time movements around him. But he's a player that I feel is very, very, versatile. Because he's a player that I see when I see him in Europe, when I watch him a lot. Like I told you, he plays just 45-50 minutes from my home. He's a player that he can play with his back to the goal. He's a player that can combine, and he's a player that's strong and can finish. Now, But when I see him at Leverkusen have several, numerous, schemes of playing. That there are certain times when the ball goes in here, he already knows the man is going to go around him. He already knows that he doesn't have to control it, he just has to drop it. We call it clutch, just hit it one time backwards and the ball will go ahead of him. Those kind of things. But the problem, I think that's one of the reasons why he's struggling with the Super Eagles, because the problem is that those schemes, you don't perfect them in just 3-4 days when you come to the Super Eagles camping.
Yeah.
These are schemes that you perfect in clubs because you're training time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to perform to execute to the word on Saturday. And he has a very, very good coach. Alonso is a very, very good coach. So,
Sunday, what's the national team lacking as we speak? I mean, the last time we won the AFCON was in 2013. What's the national team lacking? You were a defensive midfielder for the Super Eagles. You started off as an offensive midfielder. You had to alter your game and become more or less both offensive and defensive.
Box.
We're lacking your kind of player in the national team, today. Can you just tell our listeners how you were able to transform yourself and still maintain those same abilities while on the pitch?
Well, Charles, the first thing I had to do was also, the situation I found myself also when I came to the Super Eagles, that I was desperate. That is one thing maybe nobody would tell you, but I was desperate. I was desperate in the fact that I really wanted to make something out of it. I felt I needed to. My family had to have a name. And the greatest platform for that is the Super Eagles. So I was desperate. And furthermore, so that means that I had to do everything possible to adapt, to be able at least to get a place there. And I'm blessed by God. In fact, I won't say I was, because I still am blessed by God to have been able to get those games. Now, you asked me the question, what does the Super Eagles need for you to get there? Look, Charlie, from the way I see it, if we start saying what the Super Eagles needs now, your program will be over. So let's not go too deep into that. I think let's try to generalize and put them into titles. One of the first things we need is that we need a solid background that everybody can fall back on. At the moment when you watch our teams, we don't have it. Nobody knows what to do, when, where, and how. And the moment you don't know what to do, when, where, and how, you will always struggle as a team, because that should be your go-back point too. And I think also the players that we use are not the best Nigeria has. That is what is making us struggle in the biggest. You cannot make okra soup without okra. You need okra, whether you like it or not.
Sonny,
So
is there any player, because based on what you just said now, that the team we have is not the best that we can muster, is there any player in the national team as we speak that you think should not be part and parcel of the squad?
I think it would be ungodly and inhuman to start calling names. It would be unfair.
But Sonny, let me flip that question. Do you think there are players out there that have not been invited?
That's what it means now. Obviously.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because it might not be, it won't be appropriate for him to start naming names. We can do that. You can, because of your standing as an ex-Super Eagles captain and coach.
Okay, let me flip it. Let me say it this way: is there anybody in that team now that you would not invite, without mentioning names? Is there anybody there now that you would not invite if you were the manager?
Yeah, there are many of them.
Okay.
So that one is for sure. You saw it when I coached, when I came in also. You have to bring in new blood. And that's the thing. And, I will say one thing that I said it to you, Charles, I'm sure is that. Now, ask yourself, if you want to know if our team is really the best where we can have, ask yourself, the players that we are playing, in what clubs are they practicing? In what clubs are they playing? And what status do they hold in those clubs that are playing? Are there players that are in those clubs just sitting on the bench or coming in? Or there are players in those clubs that are, what we call them influential players in their clubs? Now, when Super Eagles dominated, you had players like Femi George, you had players like Yekini, you had players like Daniel Amokachi, you had players like myself, who were influential players in our clubs. And these were top clubs in Europe. Rashidi Yaki was winning almost every year the highest goal scorer in Portugal. So these were players that were already carrying their teams in Europe. So when they come to the national team, and you combine them all together, 11 people who carry their teams in Europe, it's an explosion. That's what we're having. So if you have a player now who's not playing 90 minutes week in, week out in Europe, if he comes to the national team, the best he will do is give you a 50, 60 minutes performance. The best 30 minutes is going to struggle because he doesn't have enough playing time.
Okay,
so I think you guys should look at this.
Mm-hmm.
How about the conversation about coaching generally? What can we do to improve? Because we always say this, that we have to look out to get coaches for the national team or Nigeria teams. How can we improve our coaching situation? You've been out there. You've seen what is attainable at the highest level. What can we do to get to those levels, at least to get the knowledge for our local coaches?
There's a lot we can do. In fact, I think we should start from scratch. Because whether you like it or not, you will not succeed and dominate the world if you are just using foreign coaches. You need to use your home breed. We've seen it with Senegal, how Cissé has transformed the national team of Senegal. We've seen it now with Cote d'Ivoire, how they won the Nations Cup with a local coach. So that is why I'm an aspirant of it. And furthermore, this is our country. We should be running our own affairs. We are winning, we are losing. No, use our own affairs. Let it be like that. That is my own aspiration too. Secondly, I feel also that when it comes to the coaching itself, you see, there's one mistake people make. People think you go to coaching course and coaching course will just make you into a top coach. No, if that was the case, every year the UK produces 18 pro licensed coaches. Yeah, but in the UK, when was the last time an English coach won the Premier League? It's almost non-existent. So that is not the case. What is important is that the coaching course, from my own experience, teaches you to be organized. It teaches you the sequences you have to work. It teaches you some schemes, some training sessions that you have to put in to bring out this in a team or that aspect of it, to make them attack better, to make them hold the ball better. Those are the kind of things that the coaching course does. So what do we do then if we want to help Nigerian coaching football when it comes to coaches? I think it's time we talk about producing our own coaches. But then what will the syllabus be? Who are the ones that are going to be in charge of producing it? Where are they going to be being trained? What is the aim behind it? Who finances it? These are the kind of things that we have to look into if we want to have football to improve.
Sunday, you were known to be a no-nonsense manager. When you were with the Super Eagles, when you first came in, you wanted to remove the so-called mafia, in the national team, for want of a better word of expression. When you first came in, and your first set of casualties, from what we hear or what we're told, was the likes of Vincent Inyama, the John Obi Mikel. Mikel has had a few things to say about you, on his podcast. What exactly is the true situation concerning Vincent and Mikel Obi? The
reality of the fact is that I had my own vision and my ideas of how I wanted it to be, and I am the coach. And if the player's own way of the see things doesn't go with mine, one of us has to go. But on the reality, the fact is that it's easier to sack a coach than to sack 22 players. So as a coach, you must be ready that, okay, if I'm going to come and coach, if you don't do it my way because I am the responsibility is doing, and then sit on the side, I will try other people. If it works out, I have my job. If it doesn't work out, I will be sacked anyway. Then maybe the next one will bring you in, and you can come and destroy his team for him. That is how I see it. And that's how it's been all around the world. When you're talking about, so it was not as if I said casualties. No,
Okay,
When I came,
Sonny, we're going to ask you to hold. We're going to ask you to hold that thought because we need a break. Just hang on. We'll take the break and then we'll come back after this.
This is Sports Zone on Lagos Talks 91.3.
All right, this is the concluding part of our interview with this celebrated, much celebrated former Nigerian international and a legend of the the game.
Super Eagles coach.
Former Super Eagles coach as well, member of the FIFA Technical Study Group as well. Absolutely, man. If we begin list your feathers, we're not going to finish for here.
They get national honors too now.
Yeah, I got a national honor as well. MON.
MON. Okay.
MON, yeah, and third best African player. Back in 1998 as well. Absolutely amazing stuff. Okay, so in conclusion to your remark concerning Mikel Obi and Vincent Inyama, before we move on to other issues.
No, what I was just trying to say is that, look, please, I think it is totally unfair to start thinking as if one came into the national team with vendettas against anybody. No, it was the interest of the nation at first. If you didn't serve the interest of the nation, I felt that if you don't serve the interest of the nation, you shouldn't be at the national team because you're supposed to serve it. And I really, even till today, look, to tell you one thing, if I decide to coach now and they tell me I need a goalkeeper coach or something, I might call Inyama. That is to the point, and because that's the way I say it, because it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal, and furthermore, he's my countryman, he's my younger brother, so that is how it is.
Sorry. For me, there are two things that I just want to highlight that you said today, and I want you to maybe propose solutions. One, you and I both want a Nigerian coach, and a lot of people, including people in the studio, say things like, they should go and train themselves, blah, 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 blah. But you spoke about the financial aspect of that. If we're going to be practical about this, how do you develop a Nigerian coach that can effectively coach the Super Eagles? That is one. And two, how do we get MPFL players, how do we get them a chance? The route you took to stardom. And I love the word you used. You said, I was desperate when I got this. These guys don't get that platform. They don't get that chance. They keep on inviting our big players from Europe. Do you understand? How do we get, one, our Nigerian coaches the opportunity to do the best they can at all levels, Super Falcons, Super Eagles and all. And two, how do we get MPFL players into the squad? How do we make it? That's why I use the word quota.
Sunday, just to garnish Segun's question, yes? Is it the responsibility of the Football Federation to pay for the coaching courses of our local base coaches?
Normally, yes. I think, because when I did my coaching badges in the UK, while I paid fully to get my licenses, B, A, and Pro license, the ones who came in as the Englishmen, they had their certificates and their coaching courses subsidized by the country itself. So and we were coming from outside and everything. So they were getting a lot of help, and they were also getting help to get places. Because every year you get only 18 people that can do pro license in the whole of the UK, and so to secure one of those places, they get help from the federation. So the federation has a key role to play. And what Segun is asking now, is that even also when it comes to coaching, the federation has a role to play as regards the coaches' education, as regards making. You see, the thing there is we can say all what we want against the NFF or whatever. But you cannot succeed in Nigerian football without the NFF. The NFF is needed, and that is why I think, in a way, too, sometimes people should just stop criticizing NFF. But maybe this dialogue should be created, because that should be both sides. The press needs the NFF. The NFF needs the press. But they both need each other, not in a way whereby one has bought the other or one is controlling the other.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, because I'm hearing a bit in my ear.
Yeah, there's I don't know if it's coming.
So that is how I feel that the coaching itself, without good coaching, you can't produce quality players.
Sonny, can we call you back in a minute? Just deal with this interference. Yeah? Okay.
Oh, interesting.
This is Sports Zone on Lagos Talks 91.3.
Yeah, Sonny, we're back. Okay, go ahead, please. Sorry for the interference.
Yeah, what I was just saying, we really need the federation. The federation needs to be brought into the discussion. The federation also needs to be pushed to act, and they are not in a castigating form, but
not aggressively.
Everybody has to look for compromises. It has to be like that. I think it is.
I'd like to ask you about playing in Europe, because I know we talk about Nigerian football all the time, but playing in Europe generally, you've played with some of the biggest clubs in Europe, Ajax, Dortmund. I'm very interested about your time at Juventus. While I was reading your book, you mentioned being in a Juventus dressing room with superstars like Zidane, Antonio Conte, Del Piero. What was it like for you playing with those guys?
It was a learning process. I finally, when I got there, one of the first things that struck me was that, men, they say what they want about the Super Eagles, but the Super Eagles is great. The atmosphere in the dressing room is great. You find out it was really, really a total different world. And and the dressing room had players like Conte, who now eventually became coach of Chelsea, Charles' favorite team. And
so he claims.
We also had people like Zidane and Del Piero, Edgar Davids and all that. We had
crazy people.
Superstars. In fact, the team was made up of only internationals. We hardly had a player who was not playing for the national team. So, but then you find out really that if you don't have the performance principle, like at Juventus, being second, we lost. Huh? If we're second on the league, it's a bad year.
Wow.
If we win, it's only if we win that it is normal. In fact, the losing is not an option. So that makes you're on your toes for the whole 34 games of the season. You have to keep winning.
You played for all the big clubs in Europe: Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Ajax. How come you never played in England?
The thing that I got a lot of offers from England. In fact, we got one time an offer from Chelsea, but no, we didn't want to go there. I got an offer from Manchester United.
Whoa!
Instead, I went to. Instead I went to Juventus. That was the year I went to Juventus. I got offers also from.
But Oliseh, I thought nobody refuses to play for Manchester United.
My friend, look at that back next friend. Don't do it.
No, don't get me wrong. I didn't refuse. I got a better offer from Juventus.
Exactly.
So it's not that I refused. No. Sorry, I said Middlesbrough. No, I meant Newcastle. I got an offer from not Middlesbrough, Newcastle, and that was when Gullit was there.
Okay.
Thank God you didn't take that one.
But Newcastle and Ajax said no. They didn't want to sell. They said they were not going to sell one of their top players to a club like Newcastle. But Newcastle is big now, so.
Having seen how the English league has progressed in the last couple of years, do you regard it as the best league in the world, or is it the most entertaining in the world?
I think it is both. It is the best league in the fact that thanks to the financial powerhouse that it has become, it attracts the best players from around the world and the best coaches. And also because of the spectacle that it now plays. Formerly, the English football, when we played the English teams in Europe, it was easy because they just played long balls, boom, boom, and we just kept the ball down, and they were, you deflate them. But now they play everything. They got teams in the Premier League playing tiki-taka. They are the ones playing it direct and everything. But what is great about the league is the pace of the league is so much, it's so fast, they're playing. And the attention of the world in it, and so because of the attention of the world in it, the image rights, TV rights, it's going into billions. So there is no league that can be as competitive as that now. Because forgive me, but footballers, we are like, you know, I won't call names, but we're like these people. Where the money is where we all flock to. So,
Sonny, that game against Italy at the FIFA World Cup, I've always wanted to know. When we lost, what was the reaction in the dressing room after the game?
I was so sad. You know, we were all in tears. But almost everyone because we had drinks then. But it went well. And to be honest with you, that was the last time I ever laid eyes on West Ham.
Really?
Face to face. It was the last time I met him. The next time I saw him was at the parking lot at Equate Meridian, but he was far away. But, you know, that was the time there were a lot of lobbying going around to please proceed. And I saw him from afar, and I didn't want to go say hello because I felt he was also part of us probably lobbying to take the man's job, and I felt it was ungodly. You know, so but that was the last time I saw West Ham in the dressing room in that situation.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. When we speak to legends like you, an hour is just never enough. And there are many questions here, you know, on our computer for you, but we just don't have the time to ask those questions because we need to get through quite a lot. Maybe at another time we can respond to the questions that our listeners have.
If you want to be a part of us, first off, follow us across all social media pages at Lagos Talks 913 is our handle, and of course, kindly like, share, subscribe, and make sure you're a part of the Lagos Talks family.